you heroes, villains, and innocent bystanders. Welcome to another action-packed, exciting episode of An Angel and Her Unicorn comic book reviews. I'm Alan the Unicorn, and with me today is my trusty sidekick,
James.
Just James. We will be reviewing the books of the week, spoiling them as much as we possibly can. So if you don't like spoilers, stop, rewind, wait, read, then come back and see us, and we'll get it done, and we'll spoil them for you. Not technically wouldn't be a spoiler, would it? Just be discussion by that point. Either way, we will be doing the books of the week. If you can, we would love for likes, shares, and subscribes. Bell notifications turned on so you know when we make a new video. Because I'm not always great with the posting them on Facebook or anything like that. So the notifications are always great if you'd like to follow us because we'd love to have more people. Until then, so a couple exciting news. Happy 4th of July, everybody. Hope everybody still has all their fingers and toes and other body organs that are on the inside and not on the outside where you exploded them. We have James's birthday. James is now legally 21 and he can drink. Thank God. It's about time. We can finally go out and party. How old are you, James?
More than
21. More than the legal limit. So, if everybody could wish him a happy birthday, it'd be awesome if you see him. Or comment, happy birthday. It's awesome. Either way, I'll let you start since it is your birthday.
At me.
Yeah. Send free stuff. Cash, card, fabulous prizes. Deeds to property.
So, first book I'm going to be reviewing is Lois Lane #1. It is by Greg Rucka. Why do they not put the names at the beginning? It's just evil. And Greg Rucka, Mike Perkins did the art, and various other people did other things.
Various things. Did all the things.
Yes. So, Lois Lane, star reporter for the Daily Planet, is doing a in-depth expose on stuff.
And things.
Yes. And apparently she, because she's married to Clark Kent in this thing, but she got caught on camera getting kissed by Superman, and some people are, a little wink wink nudge nudge, and other people are calling her names.
Aww.
And so she's researching this big story. She calls in her Perry White, and he asks if she's heard the news, and she's like, no, I've been down in my laptop all week. And so another reporter that was working on the same story is dead of a suicide.
Ooh.
And
the plot thickens already.
Yeah.
Dun 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 dun.
So she goes and meets a shadowy character in a parking lot, and they talk about Watergate and Deep Throat and all that stuff. So she has the shadowy figure go to Russia and pick up this other person's notes, because Lois doesn't think she killed herself. And so then her and Clark go out on the town, and people are muttering under their breath that she's a hussy, and Clark's all bothered by this, and she thinks it's funny.
It is pretty funny.
And then and Clark's like, there's something you're not telling me, and she says, we gotta have secrets from each other, and we need to trust each other, so there's something coming up. So it flips to Russia, and the people were gonna grab the Russian reporter's notes, and the shadowy figure comes, and it's Terry's favorite question.
Is it the female? Is it
Yeah,
the female
Renee
question?
Montoya. Yeah. Terry hates her, so I like to tease him about it. It's not Vic Sage. So she grabs the reporter's notes. Then Lois Lane goes into a press conference and starts giving him the business, and she gets escorted out, and her press credentials revoked.
So she's done her job well.
Yes, and so then that's it. So it's gonna be more of a reportery story with some superheroes as opposed to a superhero story with some reporting stuff. And but the art's good. I like it. I like a good. You need a break from all the superhero-y stuff, especially in Marvel and DC. It's
never need a break.
Yes, you do.
No.
And I like the little love triangle thing that isn't. I thought it was pretty good. I'd give it 3 horns.
I can see where this. I mean, like obviously is up people's alley. I can see where that's gonna. It's just not. I, for me personally, don't want to read it because I don't think it's going to further any story. You know, it's not like going to give me more for the things that I want to see or the things that I want. And I just, like, I don't find Lois Lane an interesting character. I don't find,
And we have certain friends that hate political anything, and they will hate this because there's a
political agenda or sidebar and I have no desire to read any of this. I mean, like, I'm glad. Like I said, I can see where this will find an audience, but I just don't. I mean, for me, it's just. I look at it like, oh, Lois Lane book. Oh, yay! Like,
I liked it.
I'm glad. It's great that it's good. I'm glad that it's good. So I read many number ones. There was a lot of number ones that came out this week. It seems like everybody's publishing something. So, I'm going to do the anti-Lois Lane and do No One Left to Fight by Dark Horse, number 1. It is kind of a futuristic, looks like almost a Street Fighter-ish-esque premise kind of story. But this guy comes home, he's coming to this town,
Who's it by?
Good call. Image, or Dark Horse, I told you that. It's written by Aubrey Stitterson, and his art is by Fico Ossio? Fico Ossio? Sorry.
It's pronounced Sue.
Yeah, it's with an umlaut. So he comes back. This guy kind of looks like he's kind of coming back to this town. He goes to this small house. He knocks on the door, and the door opens, and it's this giant, like, crustacean, lobster, crab character that is very intimidating. He's got like this but it's got like I'm magical unicorn tank top on and this like hat and all these like gold chains and like rings
Alan
on his.
Was like you had me at unicorn.
I was in. So you think like they're getting ready to like stuff's to get ready to happen because it looks like he kind of looks like foreboding in this giant monster. Well, he grabs him and he like holds him and he's like a big giant hug and he like it's like one of his friends who's over at this house that he's at kind of as a family friend. So he's kind of their friend, and so they kind of have a little buddy words, and then all of a sudden he gets tackled by this light, and it's these 2 kids and their pet / dog character, which is a squid, like a squid-like character. And so then the mom comes in, and the whole all this is like a very neon colors and very not steampunk, but it's kind of futuristic dystopia. Like it's got the big goggles and like the mom has like a robot arm, and the guy looks like he's kind of got like armor, like an armor gauntlet, but then he's kind of got rags for shoes. He doesn't really have shoes. He just has like gauze wrapped around his legs, and it's kind of this weird dystopian futuristic-y, hippie kind of vibe. It's kind of interesting. So then the husband of the family, which I guess is his friend, comes out, but they're like kind of rivals. Like he's really angry at this guy, but the kids like love him, and he kind of has, as he's sitting there kind of kind of reorientate himself with everybody, he has this weird like almost fainting spell. So they all bring him inside, and the next thing you know, he wakes up, and when he wakes up, he has like the kids are all over him, and the wife is all over him. But then the wife kind of snaps him out of it, and she's like, "What's wrong with you?" And he's like, "Oh, he's like, no, it's a big deal. It's just big, I've traveled a long time, da da da." So he kind of blows it off. There you still get the sense of the rivalry between the husband and the main character, but the main character and the wife sit down, and they are sitting there chatting about how they've been longtime friends, and he kind of puts his hand on the wife's hand, and she pulls it away, and she's like, "No, like that's not right. That's not happening." And like, but he's kind of like, "That's not what I was." He kind of implies that he likes her, but doesn't like her. It's just kind of, it's a weird dynamic. So you kind of think that's what the husband's mad about, but come to find out, they all kind of like a little dinner. And then they go outside, and the kids are fighting the little squid. The squid, they dressed up. The squid is the bad guy, and so they're fighting him. And they're so then they talk the dad and the main character into sparring. So the dad comes in, and he's like fighting he's giving it all he can. He's like, "Why don't you ever fight back? You gotta fight back." He's like, "I'll give you more," and so he like fights him more, and then all of a sudden the guy goes, bam, and just punches him in the gut and knocks the dad down. Well, like it almost, and then he has like this weird flashback where he is fighting this creature, and when all of a sudden the dad unleashes this giant blast, and but then it ends up being like part of his flashback, like he possibly, somebody else blew up this creature that he sees, so it gets a little confused, just a smidge confusing. And then it snaps back to reality, and the dad's getting ready to release this giant energy ball at the main character, and that's the end of it. So I'm not quite sure like where it's gonna go. Like it doesn't have a clear direction. It's like, oh, they're gonna it's gonna be a giant fighting book, or it's gonna be a action adventure, which is kind of what I'm getting the feeling that it might be, is an action adventure kind of. He's fought everybody or fought this big bad guy, and now all of a sudden he's, I don't know, like, back to try to be normal, but everyone wants to fight him. So I'm not for sure how this is gonna go, but it was interesting enough to where I want to read more. Like I'll definitely get number 2, and I like the art. The art was really great. It's a very cartoony. Like if you ever played Borderlands, I think it reminds me a lot of the Borderlands characters, like the way that they look and the way that they kind of, the colors and the neons, and even just like the facial structures and the body structures of them. The guys got the big giant broad shoulders and the itty bitty waist and the little tiny legs, and the women are all very tall and lean, and so I'm interested to see how this is gonna go. So I really liked it. I would say 3 out of 5 unicorn horns. I'd probably say 3.5 because it's kind of up my alley. It's kind of my bag, but so I'm interested to see where they're gonna go with it. But I can see it go. I can see it going south really quick. Like being no story and just being like a fighting book. So we'll see. All right.
Okay. My next book is Sea of Stars, by Jason Aaron, Dennis Hallam, Stephen Green, and Rico Renzi. It's a dad and his son doing like a cargo run, and the son's bored. Having just spent a week with my nephews, I understand the bored children
they
paradigm.
always need to be constantly
no matter
engaged.
what you're doing,
yeah,
they're bored. So, so they're moving some museum pieces, and so the kid goes back to look at the museum pieces, and one of the things is a Quark Shark, which I don't know what a Quark Shark is, but it's apparently cool to small children.
And ginormous.
Yes. And so
you also find that the mom's passed away, and so they,
yes.
they kind of like bring that up a couple times.
Mom's gone and Dad's doing the best he can.
Yeah.
So so Dad picks up something on the radar, and he thinks it's another ship, and the other ship won't respond to him, and then it's a flying space monster. And the space monster bites into the ship, and Dad's all worried about his kid, goes looking for him, can't find him, and then the kid gets kicked off out into space, and
the dad kind of makes one last attempt to save him, and like, I don't know, like pokes him in the eye or something. It looks like some kind of, maybe in the mouth of some kind, like it jabs him.
And the kid grabs something from the museum that's like a weapon or something.
Looks like a hammer, like a spiky hammer.
Or a ray gun, but as soon as he grabs it, it makes a big energy blast, and so then the kid's on a asteroid, and these other space monsters are they want to make sure he's dead so they can eat him, and he wakes up, and the space monsters are surprised that the kid can understand them,
and that he's alive. Period.
Yeah, and that he's alive, and they're like, your suit is ripped. How are you still breathing? And they're not certain what's going on, and and then the kid's able to swim in space, and
kind of like flies.
And the space creatures are like, we're still gonna eat him, right? So he's gonna hang out with these guys, and then Dad is lands on another asteroid, and he's like, I just gotta stay alive and go find my boy.
Yeah.
So.
But then on the asteroid that he's landed, there's like creatures that are coming after him, like coming at him out of the dark, out of the darkness.
Just like the boy had creatures coming.
Yeah.
So there's all kinds of creatures that can live in space.
Yep. I'm curious to see if these are going to be as nice as the other ones, though.
I doubt it. Well, the other ones weren't that nice because they were
still going to eat him, but
they were going to eat him. Talking about eating.
It was really cute, though. Like, so what'd you think?
I liked it. It was. I'd give it 3 horns. It was.
Yeah.
It was interesting.
I liked the
art.
art.
Jason Aaron.
The art was really fun. I think the dialogue was really good. It was very heartfelt at points, and then it was like humorous. Yeah. And the premise itself is kind of interesting. I'm just kind of curious to see where it's gonna go, because I'm like, well, what is he like? Is he like, what was that thing that he grabbed? Well, how can he breathe in space? Like, what is he? Has he mutated?
Is he dead?
Yeah. What's gonna happen? Like, what is this? What is the story? So yeah, I really liked it. I thought it was like a 3 out of 5 or 3.5 out of 5 unicorn horns. I enjoyed the interesting, or the different choices they made. I'm gonna do Space Bandit number 1. It is Image, Mark Millar, and Matteo Scalera.
And I guess they're threatening to make a show out of this on their Netflix channel.
They're threatening?
Well, the end said Netflix.
Yeah, but that was like I think this is the next.
But Mark Millar has a Netflix contract.
Yeah.
Netflix. Image Comics. So.
I wonder if they've got Image Comics is now it's like Disney.
Well, Mark Millar has a contract to do new stuff as shows on Netflix. So
yes.
Anyway, go ahead.
I have heard of this. So they are. It starts off with they're aboard the 80s yacht, the Lionel Richie, and it's this girl. She's talking to this older couple who has. They're on their honeymoon and they are, living it up there. And she talks about how she has a lizard and he is running around the air vents right now, spewing sleeping gas. So she puts on a mask. All the people knock out. Her team of people, her gang show up, and they go to shoot everybody. And she's like, nobody needs to die. Just they're kind of like, why didn't you kill everybody, or why didn't you and she's like, it's easier this way. We can just take their money and we don't have to deal with them being awake. And she goes, it's just easy.
And nobody's gonna come after us for killing people.
Right. So she's like, it's easier this way. They're like, okay. So then they go to steal from the old couple, and she's like, no, leave them alone. She goes, they need to have a happy honeymoon, and they kind of scoff. The gang scoffs at her being too nice. So they get all this money and they escape. Well, they talk about her, they ask about the lizard, how she could use the lizard or how she knocked everybody out, and she talks about it, and she says that her people have telepathic connection to these particular creatures. So they betray her, and so they beat her, and then they shoot her.
She says the gang never killed anyone, and there was no violence, and the gang leader's like, well, let's not speak too soon.
Yeah. Not quite yet, you mean. So he shoots her out of the kind of their hideout, leaves her for dead, and they leave. So cuts to this other people. There's a guy and a girl, and the guy is turning in the girl for the bounty. She's a well-known criminal, so he's turning her in. She's mad at him. Then they show her on the prison ship where she's getting ready to, they're getting ready to take her off to prison, and they are like, you're really famous. Can we take a photo with you? And then she's like, sure, whatever. And so they take a photo. The lights go out. All of a sudden, the lights come on. She's out of the cell. She beats them up. She jumps on the ship. The ship is piloted by the guy that turned her in. It's a big giant con. So they talk about how they are making all this money from this con, and they love each other. And he's like, we're only gonna do it a couple more times. So they do it a couple more times, and then he talks to her, and he's like, all right, we have one last planet we're gonna do. We're gonna do the same thing, and then maybe after this we can retire and settle down, and maybe take a break and spend some of the money that we've earned, and maybe even settle down and have a family. And he's like, oh, I love you. Well, as it should be, she kind of gets a little cocky. She's like, I'm gonna get free. I'm gonna kill you guys. All this stuff. And come to find out, the guy does not come to rescue her. So she is stuck now on this crustacean. What is it with giant lobsters? That's the second book. I just realized that the second book. Apparently, there's got a seafood theme going on this month. Is July seafood month that we didn't know about? Happy birthday to America and seafood. So she gets stuck on this planet, and they kind of are leading her around talking about all these rules. And she's mad. She's like, this is a mistake. I shouldn't be here. And all of a sudden somebody says, oh yeah. She goes, we all say that. And it's this lizard in this person's hand, and then they show who it is, and it's the lady that they shot out of the leader of the gang before. So I'm assuming, especially from the and they also bring up the fact that you can fight your way out of this prison.
Well, there's 7,000. There's 7,000 people in the prison, and they let one person out.
You have,
but you got to fight all comers and win. Yeah.
So if you fight, and then exactly. So until you don't have a challenger anymore, you have to fight, and then if you win, then you obviously you get to get out. But from the cover, I'm assuming they're gonna team up at some point somehow. The leader of the old gang and then this girl that's been betrayed, and they're going to wreak havoc. I'm assuming havoc instead of revenge, but maybe a little bit of both. So I don't know if they're gonna if this is gonna be a continuation or if it's just a miniseries. But either way, like, the art was really fun. The story was not really original, but I didn't think it was bad. Like, I enjoyed it. The writing was good. The dialogue was really cute. The characters were kind of interesting. It makes me definitely want to read number 2. But I'm not. I don't think this book reinvented the wheel at all. Like, I don't think there was anything that was just like, oh my god, this is so brand new. But it's still interesting enough to where or a different kind of like vision of it. I liked it. I thought it was fun, and I'm always about the girl power. So I give it probably 4 out of 5 unicorn horns just because it was kind of fun and interesting. The art was really good, and it's kind of what I like. So did I ruin your whole book?
That was one of the ones I read, so that's fine. I read more than just 3 this week.
Okay.
So.
Yay!
I will do Section 0.
Perfect. If you were not, I was going to.
It's so it was an old book from the 90s, and then they re-released the first 3, and then they continued on, coming up to modern times. So the young man from
and we've reviewed
the old. Yes.
Yeah, we reviewed I think last time, the last book that number 3 came out, we reviewed that one, and that's when we figured out that it was an old series that relaunched and is now.
Because you had wanted to go back and reread the old series, and I said, well, I went and looked at them, and these are just reprints. They're not.
Yes, and that's how we finally figured it out.
So, the Bug Boy has grown up, and he's the leader of the team now. And they start off going to
the daycare.
A lady, and she's got a daycare service, and it's real high end. The kids have 3D printers and all this stuff, and the girl's last name is Adamek, which is they're an adventuring family called the Atomics, and they're like, well, you're the second most famous adventuring family after the Challengers, who was the name of the gal from the first 3 books.
Yeah, the tall blonde.
And so they so then they're talking back and forth, and the gal realizes that their Section 0 come to bust this daycare center.
Well, first the bug guy realizes, he sees the eggs full of water on the thing, and realizes they're changelings. And
I don't know how that has to do with. I don't know what the significance of that was.
I assume it's like how they were hatched, or how they are like I don't know. I don't either, but it was like something they realized.
They realized that this gal is replacing the children of the rich and famous with changeling babies to both rob them and influence them. So so they're like, release the children, and then the children turn into little imp monsters and attack Section 0, and they so there's a big fight, and the large guy has an iron bracelet on, which hurts these little imps because they're fae creatures,
Fae,
And so they get rid of the iron. Well, apparently the iron was holding back his devil hand. And his hand has a mind of its own. And, because, why wouldn't it?
It was really cool. I liked it.
And
the iron was keeping it at bay, is what.
Yes.
Yeah. So when he broke off, he like.
So.
Like,
so then the. And then the kids are using their squirt guns that they 3D printed to shoot acid at the girl
around corners.
Yes. Yeah. And then she calls in her the team dog, who's a hellhound, and so they changed the kids back, and then the gal who has a sealskin coat jumps into the water, and she's a mermaid, kelpie, some kind of
Silky
sea creature, and they catch her, and they find that the coat is basically a spell to make her look human, and so she's like, let me go. They can't. If you hand me over to the people, they're just gonna dissect me, and I can't live in a cage. So he's like, no, you're going down, honey. So then he goes to the curio shop from the earlier things. I guess when he turns into the bug, that she can turn him back and somehow use that he's trading this in for something he wants. It's all very mysterious, and
oh, and the silky lady, she's gonna she kind of makes a promise that she can help them find a doorway to the
Titania.
Yeah.
So they go to the Sargasso Sea, and they meet their old teammate, the sea monster, and that's the end of the book. So
that's kind of how the first one did too, wasn't it? Like at the end of the end of the first book, they found him like under the.
Yeah. And they've played this card before that. This big sea monster comes up, and oh no, and then oh yeah, we know him.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So.
And of course he's like, I'm gonna kill you all, and the bug's
They're like, good to see you too,
buddy. We're so excited.
Yeah. So. More romping 90s fun.
I know. I love this one so much. Like it's just fun.
It's over the top.
It's ridiculous. I mean, like, and it's just like it's not overcomplicated. It's just fun. I do want to see what's going to happen next because I'm curious to see if they get her back, or it's interesting to see that they went in this future, and now that they got this African American guy, the big guy with the demon hand, he's got the sword from the guy that before, and so it's interesting to see what they're gonna do. And they even brought in like the alien, and he wasn't with them. He was like a hologram or a projection, and so he's like, and he was very cold. Like he was like,
yeah.
And so I mean, I'm curious to see what happened in between those 18. I'm sure they'll fill it in, at some point. I think that's what they're going to use. But like, I really liked it. I thought it was fun. The only thing I didn't like was the glove the girl had. Like, it looked really ridiculous. It looked really like uncomfortably phallic, and like almost like she put like Crayola crown. Did you ever remember when you were little? They had like those Crayola crowns you could put on your finger, and then you could like color with your finger. That's what it looked. That one I didn't like. Eric Larson did something kind of similar to that. He had a glove character where it was like this tiny character, but he had this big giant power gloves that made him strong, and like. But it was like these big giant gloves, and they were just like beat the crap out of you. I like those better. Like
the Hulk hands. When you're a kid.
Exactly. That's exactly what it was. And like, I think I like that idea better than this one. This one seemed just weird. Like it just looked awkward the way she and she only had one, so it was like even more awkward. and I don't like the cowboy boots. Like, that's my only gripe about it. That's the only thing I was like, I'm not into that. But all in all, I think it's a fun book. For us, so 4 out of 5 unicorn horns. I actually look forward to reading it and seeing what they're gonna do with it. So, what about you?
I give it a 3.
Yeah, I can see that. All right, so I'm gonna do my last book. Is gonna be Aero, Marvel, and it is written by Zhao Leifin and Greg Pak. There's 2 different stories, and then King is one artist, and Pop Man is the other artist. So she's a character that was introduced in Agents of Atlas, the War of the Realms series, and she ended up she's like a Win character. She's an Asian architect. She is based in, I think, Beijing, Shanghai, and she is the kind of she has like a secret identity. So in this, it just kind of talks about how she's fighting this building that's come alive, like this lot, and that brings up the fact that she is an architect and she likes to make things beautiful, and now she's had to destroy it all. But she flashes back to her building. Making blueprints on her computer, and she ends up having a lunch date across the way, and she forgets that she's supposed to go to it, but it's with her boyfriend. So she talks about how she kind of started off, and she's not for sure how she got her powers, but she just knows she wanted to fly one day, and all of a sudden she can fly now, and how she, there's heroes in the world, but nobody really knows who she is that much, even though she's trying to be part of them, and she uses her powers to get across town to her dinner date with her boyfriend on time. And then all of a sudden, when it flashes forward to her defeating the building that she was fighting, and then more buildings come into alive. And also out of the sky, there are buildings coming out of the sky, falling down on top of the city. And these planes are going to go stop them, like blow up the things, and she's like, don't do it because the debris will crush everybody, and they're like, we have to, and they're like, you just need to catch all the debris that you can catch. So they shoot the thing, and ends up finding out that it's not a building at all. It's actually a creature, and that's the end of that story. Then it cuts to a different story where she is it's after War of the Realms, and she is accepting like a award for helping Shanghai and defeating Cinder. And so she goes and she goes and meets one of her other people that she was kind of hot with, Wave, and they kind of have like a little buddy conversation about how. And then it goes to cut to Wave's origin story, which I'm not quite sure why this is not her book. So, but I mean, like, it's okay. It just talks about her being a swimmer, and she had this place hired her to become part of their group to test some stuff out. So she's like swimming in this tank, and while she's swimming in this tank, she gets out, and all of a sudden the place is attacked. And she is zapped with some lightning or electricity and water, and so that's how she gets her powers. So then she uses her powers to fight everybody off. We'll come to find out that she actually was fighting, like she was with the bad guys, and she didn't know it. So the kind of Filipino superhero-based people, the Triumph Division, they show up, and she's like, that's when I realized that I was part of the bad guys. Well, you find out that she was with them. She was with that Filipino group, and they actually kicked her out, and that's why she wasn't with the group to get their award. And so Aero is sitting there, and they send their kind of like Superman-esque character to get Wave's armor and sword. They're like, we're here, since you're no longer on the team, we need your equipment. And she's like, nah. She's like, you're not taking it. And so I guess they're gonna fight. which that was the end of that one. So I don't know if I'm assuming they're gonna fight because they get in a little fighting pose and they're like, to be continued. So all in all, it's okay. It's not like it's not bad. It's not good. It just is. It's a superhero book. A very Japanimation style art. The first one, very manga, anime. The second story, the art, I actually really did not like at all because she looks fine and her body looks fine, but they give her these tiny, tiny twig arms and these tiny, tiny hands, and it looks really awkward. I don't like her body proportions are just really weird. It's really uncomfortable looking, and it just doesn't. I can't get past it. Like every time I look at a character, I'm like, their arms are so tiny, because they do it several times. Anyways, so like the second story I didn't think it was necessary. I wish they would have like actually continued the first story, just kept going. And if you wanted to do this like origin story with Wave, maybe either bring that in like a different way or like bring that in like she meets up with her. I don't know. I think they could have found a better way to bring the story to life instead of making it like a two-parter, because it is very disjointed, and I think you pick the book up for this certain character and then you get to do it. So all in all, I was not super excited about this book after I read it. I was excited at first, and it was kind of let down. Maybe anticipation is always a bad thing. So I give it probably a 2 out of 5, 2.5 maybe. Unicorn horns, because some of the story was, some of the art was really neat, and some of the story is really interesting, or a little interesting enough. I don't know if it's interesting enough for me to pick up number 2. We shall see. I'm not for sure. Bum 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 bum. So, that was it. Right?
Yep.
Man, that was quick. We talked fast this week. So, did you read any extra ones?
I read
Or did I destroy all those?
Star Wars, Target Vader. Mercenaries are hired to go get Darth Vader, and
Polarity ensues.
Yeah.
Sounds like a horrible job.
And just yet another exploit the Darth Vader mythos. I think that was it. I did read the Space Bandits.
Are you a Millar fan?
I'm not a super fan. I like some of his stuff, but
I like him. I like his. I don't know.
And then I also went and saw a new Spider-Man movie. I liked it.
Yeah?
It was fun.
I think I'm gonna try to see if I can get the girls sometime soon and go see it.
There's a mid-credits scene that has huge implications.
Ooh.
And then there's an after the credits scene that is like, what? So yeah.
Stay for the credits.
Yeah, stay through all the way through.
All the way through, beginning to end.
And the return of a beloved Spider-Man character.
Ooh. I'm curious now. We'll have to talk afterwards. We shall discuss. Let's see. I went through, like I said, I read a bunch of crap. Street Fighter, Necro, and Effie. I assume there are Street Fighter characters that I have no idea. I'm so out of the loop with Street Fighters that I have no idea who they are. But they're genetic experiments. They kind of talk about that. They're the people that modified them wants them back, and they want to be themselves. So they kind of like, there's a bad guy, and hilarity ensues, and they end up getting away, trying to start a new life. It was okay. The art was really neat. I liked that the art was really neat and interesting and kind of fun, and the colors are really, really fantastic. So I'd probably say 3 out of 5 unicorn horns. It was just entertaining, just something to read. Ignited number 2. This is the kind of the newer one that I don't really know this company. Is the H1 book, and they are kind of doing things a little bit differently. It's kind of like high school. It's kind of like 90210 with superpowers. But there's a school shooting in the last one, and this has kind of changed the dynamic, and so they're using their powers to kind of influence the school to not do these, not arm the teachers, and this is kind of the running theme, and so now there's people trying to arm the teachers, and like a militia that came in, and it's a little almost too convoluted, so I think I'm going to try to get it through one more book just to see if it gets any different. But all in all, it's okay. But I'd say 2 out of 5 unicorn horns. This one kind of went down for me. Test. I don't know. I don't know what the heck I read. Like, it doesn't even. I can't even rate it because I'm not for sure. It's just a weird book that I don't know. Sometimes I think people just put stuff out just to put stuff out. It tries to be really young and kind of interesting, and it's not. Not that good. The art's not that good. I was not into it. She said destroy. Part of me wants to like this book, but the writing is very awkward and the pacing is kind of weird. And I think they want you to take certain jumps of like knowledge of things, and you don't know where to jump to. Like, why is this way? It almost like they try to not explain everything, but they need to, because like you're not quite sure the way this world works, and so it throws me off. I probably won't pick up the 3rd issue. This one, I don't know. Like, I don't know what's going on. Like, I'm not for sure. Like, some of the characters look like a lot of the art is very simple, so it kind of changes. Like, the characters are kind of hard to tell who's what, and I don't know. Like, I just didn't like it. I didn't follow it that well. But I wanted to because it sounded really good. But so I'd say 1 out of 5 unicorn horns for me. I wanted it to be good, and it wasn't. Dragon's Blood by Zenoscope. Again, another one. Just good book, fun characters, good art. There's a battle. They fight this guy. Him and his cohort Freya are kind of like. They kind of have these superpowers, and they fight this guy, or he's kind of learning his superpowers, but he's got something to do with this dragon that he slayed in the first book, so you're kind of still not quite sure what he has, and so it's very much like an origin book. But Zenoscope, again, great book. I love Zenoscope. I like most of their premises are really fun. It's just good characters, good art, good book, which some companies should take note of that. That's all you need. You don't need all this crap, which leads into my next example, or my next book that I read, which is the Doom Patrol by Young Animals, and it's a #1 issue. No, not a #1 issue. No, I had no idea what's going on in this book. Like, I don't how these characters are weird. Like, I don't know what's going on. They try to explain them to a point, but then it's like it's almost the explanation is too weird to get kind of behind, which is odd for a superhero book. It's like as many shitty, weird, and awkward origin stories as I've heard. Like, these ones, I'm just like, I don't get it. Like, there's a girl that drives an ambulance, and the ambulance is sentient, and it's leading her places, and I assume Elastigirl is she's messed up somehow, and I don't know. It gets a little too weird for me, which is, not saying much. I'm not super awkward, but like, I don't mind a little weirdness. But this one, I think it's weird it's trying too hard to be weird, and therefore it doesn't work that well for me. And the art's a little awkward too. Like, there's a couple panels that just kind of threw me off that I was just like, I'm not quite sure. So I didn't enjoy it. 2 out of 5 unicorn horns, only because it did have somewhat of a story, and like the art was okay at points. So, Charlie's Angels versus the Bionic Woman.
Just stop.
I know.
Just stop.
Why IDW? Why? I think it's IDW, isn't it? Like, oh God, why do you have to crap on everything? Oh, it's Dynamite. That's what it is. Dynamite. I don't understand. And I love these people. Like, I love Charlie's Angels, and I love Bionic Woman. No, the art's horrible. The story's stupid. Like, I don't get it. No idea. Banja X. I reviewed the first one. This one was okay. Like, I think it's trying to be too much different, and it's trying to be really deep, and there's too many words. It's very, very much a wall of words, and they're explaining like everything you should feel, and it's just not going anywhere, and the art's just okay. It's kind of leading to the point where it's too sketchy, and I can't tell some of the characters apart. So I unfortunately, this one kind of went. I was like interested, and now I'm kind of like I don't care. The sidekick is hunting down the main guy because the main guy is kind of losing his mind and killing people because he's dying. So he's going to kill all these people that he has like had in the past, like this list of people he had in the past that were caused a lot of stuff. And so he's like, I'm going to go and kind of right my wrongs. You know, I did all this stuff, so I'm going to right my wrongs before I die. But the people he's killing are like people that have served their time in prison and are trying to make the difference, and they've changed themselves. So he's like, you know, the guy's like, he's getting ready to kill the guy. He's like, I haven't done anything in like 7 years. Why are you trying to kill me? Like I've been, you know, I have a family and I'm trying to do this. And he's like, nope, dead. And so the sidekick is going to find him and stop him, but they're having a hard time finding him. So it's kind of making the sidekick look stupid. And the sidekick is trying to launch this brand of himself into the world, and it's just like I said, like it gets really like complex, and just it was not as good as I wanted it to be, or something different than what I wanted it to be. So yeah, I'd say 2 out of 5 unicorn horns. I probably won't pick up the next one, unfortunately. So yeah. The Postal Deliverance, I'm not for sure what this is all about. Like, this one was kind of interesting. It's got some different characters. The beginning, the guy, he ends up, he kills he's being chased by these people, he kills them, and he goes and finds his family's dead. His wife's dead, and his kid's dead. They look like they've been tortured and killed. And then it cuts to this old lady and this guy, and the old lady goes into town, and she sees this little boy get beat up. And so then she goes and like kind of, she's like, do you want to change that, the fact that you're being beat up? And she's like, she goes, you found me on a good day. And then it cuts to a family, and I don't know, it's really awkward the way they say it. Like, she's a sheriff, but he's like, he tells the kid that he's not, it's like a little baby, he's like, you're not really your father. And she goes, don't say stuff like that, you know, she doesn't understand. So I don't know if he's being serious or if he's just messing with the little kid. I don't know, but the little kid's like just like a baby. And she gets dressed and leaves, and then it cuts to another scene where this guy's not supposed to go into town. The sheriff says, he gives him this money, he goes, there's a trailer on the outside of town. Do not come into town until I tell you to. And of course he doesn't listen, because he's like, it's the guy that had his family killed. And so he doesn't listen, so he goes into town, and everybody in town's like, we don't know who you are. Who are you? And hilarity ensues, and he fights this guy, and he ends up breaking this bottle and killing this guy, and that's the end of that. So I don't know. I don't know what's... no idea what the direction is going to go with that. So I don't even know how to rate that one. Like, the art was actually pretty decent, and oddly enough, as little stuff as they give you, like, I really want to see where they're going to go with this. I'm like, okay, I don't know what we're doing, but I will try again. So I'd say 3 out of 5 unicorn horns. I don't know, like 3-ish. And then Worldfront. It was issue number 3. They finally find the louse. They fight the louse, and like a lot of people get like. One of the characters gets her hands chopped off. The Superman character kind of loses his mind from all the drugs he's been doing. The robot brain guy, he gets broken and his brain falls out, and he actually uploaded himself into the computer. And so they're kind of like, I don't know, everybody's kind of recovering now. So they stopped the louse, and now they're trying to recover. It was interesting. The only thing is the art is like, it's so stylistic that it's hard to tell a lot of things. but when it's good panels, like, I really like it. It's fun and different and interesting and weird, but like, the bad panels are really bad, and unfortunately the bad panels a lot of times outweigh the good panels, so it's kind of hard for me to get on board. But I don't know, 3 out of 5 unicorn horns. I'm curious to see what they're going to do with the next issue, just because this issue is kind of like, they maimed most of their characters, so it's like, what are they going to do with the rest of them? So I'm curious to see what they're going to do, if they're going to do an issue 4 or not. So yeah, interesting. Lots of books, lots of stuff, lots of things. So happy 4th of July, happy birthday, James. We hope you enjoyed our show. If you can, again, like, share, and subscribe. We would greatly appreciate it. I'm always starting one the conversation. We would love more people suggestions of books. We would love to hear if there's something that we could maybe do differently that would entice more people. Please let us know in the comments below. Otherwise, we will see you all next week, and we hope your pull list is full. Bye.